Greetings and welcome to week 4. I'm at the beach. It's Carnival in Brazil, and that's where we'll do our week 4 introduction. But before I get to that, let's take a look at the surroundings. And the water coming up is going to get me wet. And in the background, you may hear my dog Jack, who is not happy with the fact that he's chained to a tree right now. And my wife and I are down here filming your week 4 introduction. During Carnival, I've been reading 2 books. The first book is a book by a guy named David Perkins, who is a professor of education at Harvard. And he talks about the importance of letting kids know what the whole game is. Like, not teaching things in pieces that are out of context. So what is the context? What is the whole game that we're dealing with in international relations too? And I've been thinking a lot about that this week. Really, it depends on who you are. There are some kids in our class who have already been accepted to universities in Europe or the United States and who are going to study international relations as a major. And so these kids, the game is that they are preparing in international relations, one, to go on to study it in college and then probably move into a profession where they are diplomats or international businessmen, humanitarian aid workers. So for them, IR2 is a junior version of what their life is going to be. For others who aren't going to study international relations, the game that we're playing is one in which really it's as simple as you being able to read the newspaper differently and watch the news differently and put things into a context more efficiently and more effectively than people who haven't taken the course. And what's the end of that? The end of that is to hopefully make you better citizens, more intelligent, more knowledgeable voters. And so depending on who you are, the game changes. But the importance, I hope, of this course and the game, if you will, is to prepare you, no matter what field you go into, to be more informed, more knowledgeable citizens, not only of your state, but of the international community, of the world. That's the hope. Last week we dealt with realism, and by now you should know the basic tenets of the realist lens. The state is the unitary actor. It acts in an international system that is anarchic. Security is the #1 concern, and states have to take care of themselves in this anarchic system. And you've read Thucydides, and you've read Machiavelli, and you've got a taste of Hobbes and Morgenthau. So that's realism. What we're going to study this week is liberalism. And the liberal philosophers took a look at realism, and then they thought, can the world be a better place? Does it have to be as dark and as competitive as the realists believe it to be? And so liberal theory, in a lot of ways, looks at the possibilities of not just being good at competition and being good at war, but of being able to avoid these things. And the idea is more that we can meet our interests more through cooperation than we can through the competitive nature of the realist lens. So, we will move into liberalism this week. One of the philosophers we're going to look at is a guy named Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant is what today is Germany. He is a German philosopher who lived in Königsberg, spent his whole life in this little town, but put out some of the most important philosophical ideas that people wrestle with to this day. And the second book that I'm reading this week is a book by another Harvard professor named Michael Spendell called Justice. And it spends a lot of time with Immanuel Kant. And I bring this up only because Kant has an idea of morality. And he says that the duty that we all have is to do things the right way, not so it will benefit us, but just because it's the right way. So for him, the ends are not as important as the motivation behind why we try to reach those ends, the motivation behind our actions. So for him, duty is not doing the right thing because it will benefit us, but doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And in your lecture this week, your first lecture, I asked you to compare that to Machiavelli's idea of virtue that we dealt with last week, and then apply both of those ideas to the international system. Is the international system the way that Machiavelli sees it, that the ends justify any means? Or could the international system, if it were a better world, be like Kant sees it? We do things the right way because it's the right thing to do. So, I ask you to wrestle with that question as we move along this week. Also this week, we will continue with our study of world geography, and we will deal with, as a current affair, we will deal with not necessarily a current event, but a series of institutions that play a huge role in our world today. And so the current affair for the week will be international institutions. We will look specifically at the United Nations, and within the United Nations we will look at the International Atomic Energy Agency, and then apply the work that they're doing to the situation with last week's current affair, Iran. So, that is our week. I hope this finds all of you well. I hope you're enjoying the course. For those of you in Pennsylvania, my family tells me you've been having some weather lately, so I guess we'll take one more look around and you can imagine a better world, as the liberals do in international relations. Have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you online.